This is Ambazonia calling. News, analysis, commentary, opinion, editorials. Ambazonia Calling is a co-production of Africa Freedom Network, the Missions Tribune, and Compass Free Press. Welcome. My name is Ntumfoyn Herbert, and I bring revolutionary greetings from our studios in Washington, D.C. to all of you, friends of Ambazonia and fellow Ambazonians on Ground Zero and across the globe.
Ambazonian citizens took over the phone lines, forcing phones on the U.S. Capitol to ring off the hook. I am innocent here.
Monkey the walk, baboon the chop. The cheating has to end. This is Willibrod Ade for Ambazonia Calling.
It takes a young dog to believe that an evil regime using corrupt and morally bankrupt idiots is not intelligent.
This is Veronique Vetimfe.
Watana Wata is still our primary focus. Make no mistake. This is the voice of Dr. Sako.
Only free men can negotiate. Prisoners cannot enter into contracts.
Yes.
We must fight. I repeat it, sir. We must fight.
So rise, Ambazonia, fight, Ambazonia, rise, Ambazonia, fight.
There will always be hand clappers to keep leaders going, even as followership dwindles to naught. This is Manjan Jutambe, delivering a studio for Sidong Lug Makia.
I therefore call upon the leaders and the leadership of the Ambazonian people to unite.
And every leader of our struggle had better study Mandela and emulate his beautiful, almost perfect example. This is the monk from Ibalikumato.
This is edition number 053 of Ambazonia Calling, coming to you this 23rd day of June 2019. A very happy Corpus Christi Sunday to you all. We will begin this edition as we've not started one before. Editorialist Lambert Mbom has got the day off. The big topic for the week still remains negotiations, when to engage, whether to engage or not. Here's Dr. Samuel Sako on why Ambazonia must engage to make sure that we prepare the way for the negotiations themselves. Comrade Dr. Samuel Sako.
As an SCLC member, I understand the difference between informal talks, mediation, dialogue, and negotiations. What's going on now are mere informal talks and mediation efforts to work out the possibility of dialogue. We must engage with any actor or facilitator with a view to arriving at the dialogue table with La République du Cameroon. We cannot be refusing to meet with La République directly and be seen to refuse to meet their appointed middle persons. That makes no sense. Those who celebrated meeting in Belgium with facilitators and are now trying to cast doubts on a meeting with agents of the Swiss government who are trying to facilitate efforts towards dialogue with La République du Cameroon are insincere. At this stage, we need to find more mediators and facilitators both sides to work out possibility of dialogue between Amba and La République. Watana Wata is still our primary focus. Make no mistake. We don't need experts to informally discuss our readiness or not to dialogue. If and when we are going to the table, then there shall be need for some expert negotiators. For your information, sirs and brothers and sisters, experts in negotiation will not necessarily be lawyers as some think. La République says they have appointed the Swiss as mediators. Okay, that's what they say. If we truly want a negotiated settlement, we cannot ignore informal talks directly or indirectly with mandates or facilitators on the other side. Some people want us to thwart every effort towards a possible dialogue, and it's for what reason? Be it known that we of this generation cannot be outsmarted, experts now or experts later. And I can say this, no flesh and blood can also buy us today. Have a great day. This is the voice of Dr. Sako, the acting president of the interim government.
Oh, freedom, freedom is coming, freedom is coming, freedom is coming, oh yes, freedom.
It has been a hectic week for Ambazonians. Those in the diaspora took over the telephone lines into Capitol Hill, into the Congress of the United States to protest Resolution 358, seeking to impose a system of federalism on Ambazonians in a one and indivisible Cameroon. In Ambazonia itself, the carnage continued, with dozens of Ambazonians slaughtered and hundreds arrested in both the northern and southern zones. Here is Ntumfoyn with the first part of our news wrap-up for the week.
Ambazonian citizens took over the phone lines, forcing phones on the U.S. Capitol to ring off the hook throughout the week as part of a campaign to deny support for and or passage of the controversial Resolution 358, authored by Representative Karen Bass, Democrat of California.
Everything is different language, so we cannot live with Cameroon. Please call your congressman or congresswoman now. Do not delay. Pick a phone, call them. Just Google if you don't know their number. Google it. Just Google it. Say my congressperson, he will come. You call them. If all of us will do this, they will get the message. God bless you. Ambazonia must be free. Thank you.
By the end of the week, the Ambazonian problem had risen to the prestigious rank of the most called about topic before the Congress of the United States, beating calls for an eventual impeachment of U.S. President Donald Trump.
It's very detrimental to force a people to live where they don't want to live. Yeah, so I will plead of you to take note of this and act upon it.
The leader of the APLM, Chairman Ebenezer Akwanga, launched a campaign in a Facebook outing during which he reiterated the rejection of dialogue by Ambazonians in favor only of holding negotiations about the terms of separation with colonial Cameroon.
We have passed the time for dialogue. There will be no dialogue, but negotiation with a third party, a mediator. So we are going to have a negotiated settlement, not a dialogue. That the time for dialogue is over. It's negotiation. All of them are not the same processes.
Akwanga drew attention to a vexing reference to the setting up of some federal system of government that would include Ambazonia in a so-called one and indivisible Cameroon.
That is one of the things the resolution is talking of dialogue. So we are kicking against that. But the most pertinent issue is we are not looking for the constituting of a federal system any longer. We are talking of total and unconditional independence. That point 4A is totally unacceptable. It's actually furthering genocide.
The phone calls came from Ambazonians based all around the globe, including from the United Kingdom.
That is my petition to you today. I'm calling from the United Kingdom.
Ambazonia Callings host Ntumfoyn Herbert made sure legislators from his state in West Virginia would vote against Resolution 358.
Hi, Officer Congressman Alex Minnie. This is Max.
Hello, my name is Herbert Bowe. I live in Hedgesville, West Virginia, and Representative Mooney is my congressman. I am originally from southern Cameroon. I know that Representative Mooney's origins are from Cuba, but many of us have families living back. You, family in Cuba, and me, family in southern Cameroon. My family in southern Cameroon is now facing genocide. And Resolution 358 that has been authored in the House by Representative Karen Bass of California, that resolution furthers genocide in southern Cameroon. There are more than 10,000 people that have been killed right now. 3.5 million people are internally displaced. The United Nations call it the biggest mass displacement crisis in Africa at this moment. So I'm calling to make the case that Representative Mooney should vote down this resolution because it is literally soaked in the blood of Southern Cameroonians.
Okay, so vote against HR 358?
Yes, and the people of Southern Cameroons are being killed for who they are, for asking to be Southern Cameroonians, Ambazonians, and recognized as such.
Okay, I'll be sure the Congressman gets your message.
So I'm calling to kindly request that Representative Mooney should oppose it. He should mobilize other Congress people to vote against that resolution.
Okay, I'll be sure the Congressman gets your message. Do you mind repeating your name one more time?
So my name is Herbert. The last name is Bo, B-O-H.
Can you repeat your last name one more time? I'm sorry.
Yes, the last name is Bo, and the spelling is B for Bravo, O for Oscar, H for Hotel.
Okay, great. Thank you. I'll make sure the Congressman gets your message.
Thank you very much.
Have a great day.
Bye-bye. Same to you.
One man's meat is another man's poison, they say. That much can be said about how roundly Ambazonians have dismissed Resolution 358 compared to how warmly it has been embraced by citizens of La République du Cameroon.
Congresswoman Karek Bass, Facebook page that una go there, una write una message, una be very polite, please. Talk your position. Talk say no, talk say no, talk say be indigent, talk am. The brigade artist Adenano represent una write up there, una talk. In the ask just write a message for a page.
Activist Ambazonia Bobo want Ambazonians in the diaspora, notably in the United States, of members of the regime change campaign known as Brigade Anti-Sardina to pass on Ambazonians in endorsing the resolution.
Ambazonia, so other messages I want to give for the whole of Ambazonia, especially for diaspora. When I need to be careful, the people they go stand, they go talk for Senate or they go talk for United Nations or we say say Ambazonia as a lie. When I be careful, when I open one eye, people then do in a bamleke, and they don't enter inside the game.
Citizens of La République who have stood by while Ambazonians are slaughtered and have never bothered to be supportive of them and their campaigns on the U.S. Capitol are hoping to stage a hold-up on Ambazonians' hard work.
Probably I don't send them now playing game now. Probably I don't send them. They come be able to say they talk on a behalf. They go there, they talk na different thing. They talk na federation. Ambazonia on open one eye, open one eye now on about Ambazonia bobo.
Talk of monkey work, baboon chop. They opened divorce in doing legal business together, which had become public with the firebrand barrister John Frunso describing ex-client Sisiko Ayuktabe as compromised has now extended, contaminating and putting an end to dealings he believed he still had with the other 9 members of the Naira 10 held at Kondange prison. Unlike with the case of Sisiko Ayuktabe, when barrister John Frunso informed and he himself announced that he was no longer representing Sisiko, in the case of the remaining Naira 10, barrister John Frunso learned from news reporters on stations like Equinox TV and radio and protested the decision without being able to do much more, except reports on these networks continue to cite barrister John Frunso's statement that Sisiko Ayuktabe is compromised.
He, however, maintained that Sisiko Ayuktabe has been compromised, and of course indicating that Sisiko Ayuktabe has been having secret meetings with the Secretary General at the Presidency of the Republic or the Director of Civil Cabinet at the Presidency of the Republic of Cameroon. Barrister Fu Johnson, speaking to Equinox Radio and Television from the United States of America, also says Sisiko Ayuktabe, who is now in Yaoundé, has been signing some documents with the civil cabinet of the Presidency of the Republic of Cameroon without involving him as the lead counsel of lawyers defending him.
The African Union has, at long last, had something to say about the genocidal violence unfolding in Ambazonia.
Musa Faki Mahamat, chairperson of the African Union Commission, says the African Union is very worried with the increased violence from both the defense and security forces of Cameroon and separatist fighters. Speaking to Jeune Afrique.
And it is not, sadly, to decry what the Biya regime has been doing. In twin interviews to Radio France Internationale and Paris-based Jeune Afrique News magazine, the chairperson of the African Union, Moussa Mahamat Faki, expressed concern, called for action to be taken, but prescribed the action it believed needed to be taken as decentralization.
Moussa Faki Mahamat said his last visit to Cameroon made him to believe that decentralization could resolve some local grievances.
The position of the African Union has been dismissed by Ambazonian leaders and liberation movements as turning a blind eye on genocide.
He also revealed that the African Union is doing a lot in the background and has pushed the governments of the Republic of Cameroon to engage a dialogue and insisted that action is what is needed, not talking.
The continental body's declaration that it supported dialogue has simply been laughed at by Ambazonian liberation movements. Video footage showing the occupation forces of Biya criminal regime inflicting collective punishment on citizens of Boro descent has gone viral on social media. The video clips show the evil colonial forces engaging in public flogging of a group of herdsmen.
So we will deal with them. But those ones, they are real bandits. Look at
we are not sharing that now. We are Operation 77. Exactly. That is how we know.
It is worth noting that, consistent with the endless violations of human rights that the regime is now engaging, even a practice such as public flogging, which was banned even under colonial rule. As we mentioned earlier, Barrister Paddy Young now leads the College of Lawyers charged with defending jailed Ambazonian leaders known under the generic code Naira 10.
These actions and behavior have betrayed the fiduciary duty that Barrister John Frunso owed to our clients, the leaders in detention. Secondly, I am stating on behalf of all the other lawyers of this defense team that we unanimously disassociate ourselves from his unprofessional, unethical, and illegal behavior. Thirdly, and consequently, we are here stating that Barrister John Frunso has recused himself as lead counsel in the case through his unprofessional, unethical, and illegal behaviors.
You are listening to Ambazonia Calling, your space for educated news analysis, informed opinions, and commentary towards the recognition of a free, independent Ambazonia. I am Innocent Chia. Stay with us.
It is almost impossible to name 3 foreign supporters of the Ambazonian cause without mentioning Matsanga, who this week again called on Ambazonian leaders to unite.
I want to call upon the people of Ambazonia today, wherever you are in the diaspora in Ambazonia itself, that in a struggle you are bound to have divisions. But divisions should not divert you from the main focus, the main challenge. We have struggled to expose the happenings, the human rights abuses in Ambazonia. The army has killed hundreds and hundreds of thousands, burnt houses of people, internet was cut off, schools were closed, dispensaries, hospitals were burnt down. Ambazonians should not be intimidated by Paul Robia. America, United States of America, is slowly moving towards giving the Ambazonian people the dignity they deserve. I therefore call upon the leaders and the leadership of the Ambazonian people to unite for a purpose. The unity of purpose is paramount as opposed to disunity, which has nothing but only produces ego that we have seen in South Sudan. I call upon you, my brothers, to pick up the unity call and free your people without disintegration. Thank you.
Here here's the second part of our news wrap-up for the week. Innocent here.
This is Sesoko, Dr. Peter FAKO, cabinet member of the Ambazonia Republic.
A member of the self-proclaimed interim government group, Siseko Peter Anko, has shared video of him meeting with the leader of the Biafran secessionist project from Nigeria. The video shows Siseko Anko basically walking into and regrettably taking the bait of linking the Ambazonian problem to that of Biafra.
Our neighbors from the Biafra Republic have their leader here with us, Mazi Nnamdi. Many of you already know him. We've been looking for a long time to get even close to our other brothers in Biafra. We have the opportunity today, and we are right here in Los Angeles.
Going to the extent of downgrading the Ambazonian independence quest to one caused by marginalization in an effort to make it comparable to the Biafra project.
Mazi, we are very, very happy to meet with you. We have a common destiny. We have a common ancestry. And unfortunately, we have a common problem. The problem of being marginalized because we constitute a minority. But together we can fight it back.
Amen.
Together we can fight it back. Together we are going to succeed.
Amen.
And it will happen.
I'm
very glad that you came here, and he came to see me in the company of our sister. He is a cabinet member of the government of Ambazonia, and the IPOB struggle for the emancipation of Biafra was their inspiration.
Supporters of country by country are proving incapable of helping themselves. In the face of what they believe is success in insisting to hold Ambazonians prisoners within their local government or country area, pro-country by country activists like Paul Nilong insist without shame that the Ambazonia they seek will be one in which you are only useful in your area of birth.
If you are from Meme County and you are listening to me, please, we need your services. We need you.
Basically, within your tribe, as in days of King Harold, they are not shying away from calling on all Ambazonians to return to their counties of origin.
So please, I am begging every Ambazonian, go back to your county. There's a DOD fund that is going on already. Let me tell you, there's a DOD fund that is going on already. In the prisons, let them audit the first fund, then before they continue with the second fund. Stop causing confusion. Let Dr. Sako Samuel concentrate.
We warriors were locked in battle Saturday 22nd with the occupational terrorist forces of La République du Cameroon in Biame. Fighting followed the execution-style killing of an unarmed elderly man and his two sons. Reports say close to 500 undercover police officers who will be patrolling the streets of Ambazonians in plain clothes have made their way to Bamenda. Activists are calling on the populations to remain alert and watch out for these armed and dangerous strangers, particularly in Bali, Belo, Nso, and Bafut. 18 terrorist soldiers of colonial Cameroon reportedly lost their lives in a counter-ambush operation of the British Southern Cameroon's Restoration Forces Wednesday, June 19th. The operation came on a tip-off that the colonial forces were using human shields to get past amber strongholds in order to dislodge the special Midwood ghost town called by a faction of the pro-independence groups in order to mark another wasted court date for jailed NERA 10 leaders in Kondange. Contrary to information peddled by La République du Cameroon agents on social media, passengers plying the Womb Road on that day were never kidnapped. Instead, they were given safe passage back to Womb by the forces of British Southern Cameroons to avoid being caught in the crossfire. The arrest of scores of youth has been reported in Tara Santa by Bia forces of occupation. Parents and other family are reportedly paying 50,000 francs to 100,000 CFA to secure the release of their loved ones from the gendarmerie, even amid threats that the detainees will be deported to Yaoundé as Ambazonian terrorists. Observers have decried what is best seen as state racketeering. Finally, the trial of some lead embezzlers in the Cameroon National Refinery has been set for July 25th at the Special Criminal Court. Even as the defense teams of the former Sonra GM Charles Metuk and the former board chair Ebongole prepare against countervailing evidence, more dramatically sad news emerged that the refinery has been operating without insurance for some time now. If true, there is simply no way Cameroon, in the current financial and security dispensation, can rebuild the refinery, which makes them one step closer to leaving Ambazonia. For Ambazonia Calling, I am Innocent Chia.
What Cameroon has done to us, I want you never to forget. The pain they have brought to bear on this generation, I want you never to forget. Not out of hate, but so that the next generation will remember and make sure they do the things they are supposed to do, never to go through this again.
I will continue to play my part to ask the people of Southern Cameroon to take their revolution into their hands and continue the fight to liberate themselves.
I'm sorry to say, because of France's policies in Africa, in French Africa, the state of La République du Cameroon do not have any pressure on them to find a way to resolve this issue, because they are always thinking that no matter what happens, France will always be there to give them coverage.
Still ahead in this edition, we have The Devil Unmasked with Professor Emmanuel Tatamenta. We have a winner of the Nyamfaka of the Week. And we are not done until you have heard our letter to Joshua. So stay tuned, kick back, relax, and enjoy Ambazonia Calling. To negotiate or not to negotiate, that is not even the question. Ambazonians have no choice. They will negotiate at some point. The question is, are we going to negotiate now or 20 years from now, as the people of South Sudan and Eritrea had to wait through 2 bloody wars to get to their own negotiating table? Daniel Jude Agua again has got some answers for all of us.
All right. Everyone, please take a deep breath. Hold it. Now exhale. This is a therapeutic exercise for many, and Ambazonians, terribly stressed, petrified, unsettled by the prospects of negotiations, could use some of it. It is with negotiations as with any other thing Ambazonian. Those who approve greet it with deafening applause. Those who oppose take a vuvuzela or a megaphone to shout their opposition. No surprise that in the recent weeks, the opposition to a negotiated settlement has rushed to castigate capacity building for Ambazonian leaders in anticipation of future negotiations. The opposition has thrown rotten eggs at support by the Swiss-based Center for Humanitarian Dialogue and the European Institute for Peace for offering to build capacity and cohesion in a revolution that desperately needs same. Fully aware that none of these workshops are actually negotiations, the extent of the tongue-latching and blackmail has been breathtaking. There has been a rush to extrapolate, to cook up or discern what opponents see as a larger pattern of failure. Ulterior motive has been coined and movements labeled. There has been no shortage of cosmic argument that casts aspersions on the integrity and character and question the intelligence, sagacity, and political adroitness of anyone daring to go to school, as these workshops have to be called. Some have questioned the timing. Others wonder why the Biya regime has named its mediators, as if Ambazonians should have named one for the regime. If they held their breath 1 minute to think, they might have found the time to notice that Ambazonians also need to focus on finding and naming its own mediator.
Some of the assertions raised are fraught with distortions and oversimplifications, have really been intended to stoke fear and hate. Ambazonians cannot eat their political cake and have it. We cannot say we were ready for independence yesterday and say it is too early to get to the negotiating table where we are condemned to sit in order to finalize a deal. One of the biggest errors in the history of the Palestinian struggle for statehood was to refuse to embrace the fierce urgency of the moment. They refused to jump on the only train that ever stopped, and it is not an exaggeration to state that they have lived to lick their political wounds. Yes, we need to be ready before actually going into negotiations. But how exactly do you get ready without building capacity? Am I missing something? Even the opposition to negotiations cannot deny the importance of timing in any negotiation. Samuel Lewis, a CEO of the U.S. Institute of Peace and a participant in the Israel-Egypt peace negotiations at Camp David, famously concluded that timing is everything in negotiations. It comes down to catching or missing that proverbial train. Either we are at the train station and we board the train, or we procrastinate, the train passes us by, and we wait in vain for another train to come. Our people captured the whole notion of timing with the catching pigeon English expression, man lep a lep.
Isn't it also the case, Tanyi Judah Gwauzugen, that any expert in negotiations will tell you that negotiations only occur when either one or both parties to a struggle decide that the status quo is so painful that they can no longer continue to endure it? We've gotten to that point in Ambazonia. How do we know that?
Ambazonians have done what they needed to do, and the Biya regime has read the handwriting on the wall. The economy of colonial Cameroon is in red. Their treasury cannot honor the currency the French mint for them. Church rats won't be better off seeking food in the kitchen at their so-called Unity Palace. Sonora, the bastion of the colonial prowess, is in flames, no doubt signifying the coming of the Armageddon for the regime, and colonial Cameroon is losing men and women at the war front like flies against a ragtag Ambazonian self-defense unit that have never been trained but have held their own with exceeding bravery and unrivaled gallantry. There are not too many ways of saying one is not ready for negotiations without indirectly sending the signals that one rejects a political settlement. If you have been holding your breath, let me break this down for us. Rejecting negotiations is another way of telling the Biya regime and the international community that Ambazonians believe they can obtain the independence they seek through military means. The Biya regime was praying for Ambazonians to reject negotiations. Actually, letting the Biya regime know that Ambazonia welcomes negotiation has taken the air out of their balloon. It had been floated with the hope that Ambazonians were so divided that it would be impossible for them to agree. The people of Ambazonia gain more from pushing a negotiated settlement than the Biya regime, and complaining against timing is to look the negotiation give horse in the mouth. Timing is not only important for Ambazonians and the colonialists in Yaoundé. As with the crisis in the Middle East, a time comes when the world moves on. When the world concludes that there are too many hawks of war involved and in charge, that it is better to let them kill each other until only the doves of peace are left. Those who oppose any dealings with the folks offering assistance from Europe hope to scandalize everyone by pointing out that Switzerland is involved, that Mr. Biya has Swiss nationality. It is a country where nationalists like Omyobe were poisons, and the one place in the world where African tyrants like Biya have hidden the fruits of their loot of our public treasuries. Mediators should be ideally neutral. But who wants to be fooled that anyone is neutral? The United States is not neutral in the Israeli-Palestinian struggle, yet there is no peace deal that anyone can hope for that does not have America acting as mediator, facilitator, lead negotiators, and guarantor. Ambazonia will negotiate with people who are vehemently opposed to our independence quest, be they Switzerland, France, or La République.
Our job is to get ready to designate our own negotiating team and mediator when the moment comes. We need astute and unflappable Ambazonian negotiators who can seize the moment and close a deal with the timing of a jungle cat and the agility and dexterity of a wounded lion. To those who keep insisting that the timing is not right, please do not hold your breath to hear what they mean. Do they prefer for us to wait for more than 20 years, as did Eritrea and South Sudan? Ambazonians need to take advantage of an ailing colonial Cameroon wobbling between two poles, financial short circuit, and an international reputation gone to the dogs, and strike a deal now. No Ambazonian should ever forget that negotiations are often the very antithesis of thoughtful, systematic, rational, and intellectually honest exercises. In fact, negotiations are driven and shaped by factors such as luck, politics, and personalities. Factors that, to say the least, are hard to quantify and more experiential than analytical. This is Tanya Jude Agua Uzugen from Ambazonia calling.
So get on now on the train. Everybody get on now on the train. Mothers, fathers, get on now on the train. Children, get on now on the train. Sister, brothers, get on now on the train. Husbands, wives too, get on now on the train. Oh, Abba, Father, bless us. Oh, Jesus Christus, guide us. Oh, Holy Spirit, lead us on the restoration journey of our liberty. So, restoration train is our freedom train.
There is a saying out there, the people of Ambazonia have suffered. This expression is often used to describe how badly Ambazonians have been cheated in the Cameroons. In the following analysis, Willie Brotherday points out that Ambazonians have been cheated more often than their French-speaking neighbors would care to admit.
This week, Ambazonians stepped up to the plate to begin yet another fight, this time before the Congress of the United States, and focused on preventing Resolution 358, authored by Representative Karen Bass, from being passed in the House of Representatives. Hardly had the incoming calls from Ambazonians lit up the switchboard on Capitol Hill than Ambazonia's neighbors, French-speaking citizens of the Republic of Cameroon, jumped in to claim credit. Okay, it is true that there were also some Ambazonians who are notorious absentees from any action before Congress claiming credit. But what I want to focus on is the fact that Ambazonians have been swindled far too many times by their French-speaking neighbors. This week, the campaign in support of Kamto and for regime change in Yaoundé jumped on Resolution 358 to salute its call for the setting up of a federal system of government by the tyranny of Mr. Biya. Federalism is something very few citizens of the Republic of Cameroon have ever bothered to call for or support when Ambazonians were killed in the streets clamoring for it. But when the plum was ready for harvest before Congress, our French-speaking neighbors came out of the woodwork, and they are still trying to do what they have done over many decades. Ambazonians can do all the heavy lifting, but when the time comes to harvest the fruits, it is the very ones who insulted, mocked, and cursed at us that show up to the feast. Our people call it monkey the walk, baboon the chop, or Tico drink, Kumba drunk. It has become a way of life for the French-speaking neighbors that we have. Over the decades, they have been unwilling to join any struggle for liberties or rights. Before Ambazonians get what they have paid for with their lives, it is their French-speaking neighbors who get the first fruits of the harvest. In 1990, Ambazonians, led by John Frundi, Albert Mukong, and co., fought for a return to multi-party democracy at the cost of the lives of 6 of our brothers and sisters. Citizens of La République joined in the crackdown against the man they called Le Petit Libraire de Bamenda. When Biya finally yielded to the pressure, it was political parties founded by citizens of La République that were granted official recognition first. Several of them went on to participate in multi-party elections, even as the SDF boycotted. In the summer of 1992, it is Ambazonian teachers and parents who fought for a GC board, while citizens of La République mocked and chastised them. When the time came for the harvest, it is them that the regime granted an office du bac that they never asked for, even before Ambazonians got the GC board. Today, that GC board has been watered down and destroyed, while citizens of La République keep their office du bac. When students paid for with their lives in Ambazonia in protest calling for the creation of an Anglo-Saxon university in BOYO, citizens of La République God served the University of Ngaoundéré, University of Chang, and more, which they were not asking for. And when BOYO was established, they quickly converted it into a university for French speakers by lowering the standards they needed to meet in English in order to be admitted. When teachers and lawyers of Ambazonia protested the use of French in our courts and schools and got tear-gassed, arrested and jailed, citizens of La République sat out, not even so much as showing sympathy for their professional colleagues. When the time came to hire so-called bilingual teachers, it was 99% citizens of La République that got hired. The English section at ENAM is overloaded with their people as we speak. Ambazonians who stage protests each October 1st in favor of federalism organized the AAC 1 and 2 to advocate for it, called many demonstrations over decades to call for a return to federalism, are watching right now as French-speaking citizens who don't care about Ambazonians leap right over the dead bodies of Ambazonians to claim that which they never ever fought for. There are many legal reasons why Ambazonians should settle for nothing short of outright independence. But in case there was even no reason at all, just the fact that these neighbors of ours are willing to sell Ambazonians into slavery in order to take over their birthright should be enough for separation. We cannot and shall not continue to allow a situation where monkey dey walk, baboon dey chop. The cheating has to end. This is Willibrod Ade for Ambazonia Calling.
Welcome to our special interview segment, The Devil Unmasked, The Truth Out.
Anyone who wants to study leadership would be mistaken not to spend some time learning the leadership style of Nelson Mandela.
Give thanks to the Prince of Ubuntu, Madiba Nelson Mandela, Father, Son of Africa. You got many years in prison, never gave up, jail no reason. He swore to give his life for the freedom of everyone.
Madiba, as Mandela was affectionately known, could be considered the Bible of political leadership in Africa, notably leadership of a revolution in which its leaders end up in jail. Ever since the claim first surfaced that the Ambazonian revolution could or would be led from jail, supporters of what many simply call a crazy idea have taken cover behind citing Nelson Mandela. Mandela did A and Mandela did B. In today's Devil Unmasked, we are using one of the many letters Mandela wrote from jail to show how off some of these outlandish, even utterly false claims are. In itself, this letter delivered to South Africans during the apartheid days by Mandela's daughter should provide education on how leaders held behind bars should carry themselves so that they can use their suffering in jail to continue to inspire. Mandela's letter pays tribute to the people without whose never-ending sacrifice the ANC would have been unsuccessful.
My father and his comrades at Portsmouth Prison send their greetings to you, the freedom-loving people of this our tragic land, in the full confidence that you will carry on the struggle for freedom.
Mandela had no doubt that those outside of jail were doing their part. His job from behind bars was to encourage, not lambast or blame them. It was to lift up their arm and show them to the people as the leaders to obey while he was away.
He, with his comrades at Portsmouth Prison, send their very warmest greetings to Bishop Tutu. Bishop Tutu has made it clear to the world that the Nobel Peace Prize belongs to you who are the people. We salute him. Amanda!
When your leaders speak such nice words about you from behind bars, how can you not feel indebted to him? It is the same kind of profuse praise Mandela offered to movements that supported the ANC, such as the ADF.
My father and his comrades at Portsmouth Prison are grateful to the United Democratic Front, who, without hesitation, made this venue available to them so that they could speak to you today.
Recognizing that no matter how strong the ANC was, it could not do it all alone. Mandela knew and admitted publicly that he was not the boss. He knew that the people were in charge and that he served at their pleasure and would be accountable to them.
My father and his comrades wish to make this statement to you, the people, first. They are clear that they are accountable to you and to you alone.
While Madiba's long suffering in jail broke everyone's heart, Mandela showed in letter after letter from Portsmouth Prison that he, as the true leader he was, cared more about the many million faceless victims of apartheid than himself, aware that his own case was already widely publicized and that his role was to shine a light into the dark corners the apartheid regime was hiding from the world.
He also speaks for all those in jail for their opposition to apartheid, for all those who are banished, for all those who are in exile, for all those who suffer under apartheid, for all those who are opponents of apartheid, and for all those who are oppressed and exploited.
This is a page Ambazonian leaders in jail, whose case is already well known and publicized, can borrow. Mandela proved that a true leader is often proven by his ability to follow the commands of others. He considered himself not the boss, but a mere foot soldier, a member of the ANC committing to remain in its membership under the command of those leading from outside jail, with no need for substituting for them from jail, although he had the aura, support, and following to do so.
My father says, I am a member of the African National Congress. I have always been a member of the African National Congress, and I will remain a member of the African National Congress until the day I die.
Listening to some of the lines Madiba wrote about his comrade in the struggle, one could think the two men had a love affair.
Oliver Tambo is much more than a brother to me. He is my greatest friend and comrade for nearly 50 years. If there is anyone amongst you who cherishes my freedom, Oliver Tambo cherishes it more, and I know that he would give his life to see me free. There is no difference between his views and mine.
Unlike relationships built over very short periods like those existing between Siseko and Sako, for instance, the relations in the case of Mandela dated back 50 years. Time helped, but lack of time to build a strong relationship should not be a handicap in our case. It takes trust, not decades of long-standing friendship. Now, just notice how much time Mandela in this particular letter devoted to praising his comrades. The part we have just listened to, he did not attack his comrades. Instead, he went after the apartheid regime.
My father says, I am surprised at the conditions that the government wants to impose on me. I am not a violent man. My colleagues and I wrote in 1952 to Milan, asking for a roundtable conference to find a solution to the problems of our country, but that was ignored. When Straydon was in power, we made the same offer. Again, it was ignored. When Herbert was in power, we asked for a national convention for all the people in South Africa to decide on their future. This too was in vain. It was only then, when all other forms of resistance were no longer open to us, that we turned to armed struggle. Let Walter show us that he's different to Milan, Straydon, and Herbert. Let him renounce violence. Let him say that he will dismantle apartheid. Let him unban the People's Organization, the African National Congress. Let him free all who have been imprisoned, banished or exiled for their opposition to apartheid. Let him guarantee free political activity so that the people may decide who will govern them.
Our people prefer to attack their own comrades. In this letter, Mandela left no one in doubt as to whose freedom he cared more for. Certainly not his freedom.
I cherish my own freedom dearly, but I care even more for your freedom. Too many have died since I went to prison. Too many have suffered for the love of freedom. I owe it to their widows, to their orphans, to their mothers and to their fathers who have grieved and wept for them.
His letter was intended to inspire the people to fight on.
Not only have I suffered during these long, lonely, wasted years, I am not less life-loving than you are. But I cannot sell my birthright, nor am I prepared to sell the birthright of the people to be free.
Mandela left no doubt in this letter that the total freedom the people of South Africa seek cannot come in small doses. It must be total and unconditional.
I am in prison as a representative of the people and of your organization, the African National Congress, which was banned. What freedom am I being offered whilst the organization of the people remains banned? What freedom am I being offered when I may be arrested on a past offense? What freedom am I being offered to live my life as a family with my dear wife, who remains in banishment in Brantford? What freedom am I being offered when I must ask for permission to live in an urban area? What freedom am I being offered when I need a stamp in my pass to seek work? What freedom am I being offered when my very South African citizenship is not respected?
Then, the best for last, Mandela did in fact answer the question, can a leader lead or manage the revolution from jail? Contrary to what has been frequently used to blindfold Ambazonians about Mandela governing from jail or giving orders from jail, here is how Mandela roundly disqualified himself leading or governing the revolution from jail.
Only free men can negotiate. Prisoners cannot enter into contracts.
Not once in the entire letter is there a word of recrimination against a comrade of the struggle. Only praise, motivation, commitment, care, love, and a determination to not surrender before the people achieve the goal of their revolution.
My father says, I cannot and will not give any undertaking at a time when I and you, the people, are not free. Your freedom and mine cannot be separated. I will return. Amanda!
This is the kind of leadership that Ambazonians are dying to have, and every leader of our struggle had better study Mandela and emulate his beautiful, almost perfect example. This is the monk from Ibalikumato for Ambazonia Calling.
Prisoner 46664. Prisoner 46664. Can't give up, no justice, no peace. Can't give up, cause sun's gonna rise anyway. It's just a moment in time we are living.
Fellow Ambazonians, recreation is over. The time has come for us to stage the biggest ever Ambazonian demonstration, calling for the recognition of the state of Ambazonia, thanking the United States for what they have done so far, asking them to do more, notably to provide protection for our people, to intervene unilaterally at the authorization of the people of Ambazonia to prevent the genocide unfolding in our country. That demonstration is on Capitol Hill on the 19th of July 2019. The train station to bring you there is Union Station. Every train in Washington, D.C. heads to Union Station. You must be there. Globally, wherever you live in the diaspora, assume responsibility for organizing this demonstration in front of the U.S. Embassy. Take your responsibility. Your group doesn't have to do it. You are a citizen of Ambazonia. You have a right to stage this demonstration, even if you are going to be all alone. Bring your American friends, your British friends, your French friends, your Italian friends. Make sure everyone knows that it is time to deploy UN peacekeepers to intervene unilaterally to prevent genocide. Wherever you are in the world, please organize for these demonstrations. Join the Global Organizing Committee on WhatsApp and to make the 19th of July a day to be remembered. This is our Million Man March. Join us on Capitol Hill the 19th of July 2019. When citizens settle for a political leader, they hire that leader, they give the leader a job. But as Shidon Lukmakia warns in the following analysis delivered in studio by Manjong Jutambe, the people of Ambazonia have been shopping very poorly for their leaders.
People learn to shop for leaders as they do their daily needs: food, drinks, cutlery, clothing, cars, planes, on the marketplace. They go for a second bottle of drink because the first proved to be good. They stay away from a brand of car that disappointed them, just as they stay clear of an airline that failed to meet their satisfaction in an earlier flight. Barrister Felix Agbonkungo was an admired lawyer who rose to become head of FAKO Lawyers Association and then leader of the Anglophone Consortium, meeting and discussing with government envoys in the early days of the crisis. His reputation shot through the roof when he reduced one of Cameroon's mock professorial politologues to a mere hawker by making the very prophetic declaration that by the time the government shall come down from its high horse to ask for a federation, Anglophones shall have abandoned the ship. The very Felix Agbonkungo now wears a new jacket tagging himself a die-hard federalist. How the envisaged federation would differ from the one jettisoned long ago is not mentioned. Citizens are simply being narcotized to believe in a new federation to be led by a messiah not tainted with either the Ahijo germ or the BR1. The once beaten twice shy teaching is a thing of the past, a very distant past. In the uncertainty following the unforeseen abduction and or kidnapping of Julius Ayuktabi and his collaborators in Nigeria's Nira Hotel, Ambazonians embraced Samuel Sako and his My Trip to BOYO with a rare zeal and vigor. 1 year down the road and a good amount of dollars gulped along, there is speech fatigue, promise fatigue, accountability fatigue as donors get dribbled from one presidential decree to the next, sinking the ship with sinecures. At the bottom of the pit of despair, John Frundi of the SDF fame comes up with a scintillating promise to act as mediator in the dialogue with President Paul Biya. Mr. John Frundi is a pilot playing ostrich and failing to realize and or come to terms with the meteoric rise and fall of his aircraft. Leaders are so naively schizophrenic that they assume followers can neither see nor perceive their failures. Of course, there are always some handclappers. Whether such hallowed gesticulation can achieve the lofty goal set at the outset remains in the imagination realm. After all, has a prophet not taken 28 gullible lives in Tanzania by nudging them to drink a bleach-tainted concoction pompously sold to them as a soul purifier right inside the house of worship? There will always be handclappers to keep leaders going, even as followership dwindles to naught. This is Manjang Jutambe, delivering in studio for Sidong Lug Makia for Ambazonia Calling.
Since the days of John the Baptist, the kingdom of God suffered violence. Only the violent one takes it by force. You're on the ground, king. Boom! You the cry, about what the cry. Don't tire, about what why.
Women are the crying, crying. We are the crying, crying. About what they crying, crying. We the crying.
Republic una free. Amango today inside pay no the free. We president on the side say oh man of yay. Grand ambition, fuck that slogan no yay. Presido, the pay jaga jaga. Una take all in the way for scatter. They need 102 students for Senate address. Una select 2 Anglophones, escape address. Bia, young, Dijon, prison. Escape who know why man should be busy there for prison. They don't some all we then start for colors Anglophones. Fuck up the government, we ain't tools. Minister for communication, no fit talk good English. Southern Cameroon independence, that's my wish. No good third roads, no seaports, no light, no water, no airports. President, you overget fake promises. Wait to happen, failing news, you bring us diseases. But men are the cry, we are the ask why. You don't come for that chair, you don't go shake, you go die.
Women are the crying, crying. We are the crying, crying. About what they crying, crying. We the crying. Una free me, women are the crying, crying. We are the crying, crying. We the crying. Una free me.
For anyone familiar with Ambazonian literature, you would know the past tense of shit. Now here comes Living in Shit. It is a poem by Christopher Achobang. It is delivered in studio by our own Willie Brotherday.
The flag goes down. After burying thousands, burning thousands of homes, destroying many lives, Cameroon flag flies at half-mast. The country is on its knees. Thousands of tons of cocoa rot in the bushes. Oil palm nuts feed squirrels and rats. Cornfields return to forests. Children skip many years of schooling. Graduates drown crossing the Amazon. Ports beg food to cook. Flags bow to the killers. Ghosts have risen from their tombs. Milestones have become tombstones, for we have lost count of time. Yet the persecutor looks at his wrist into an empty watch that stopped. Time to go. Time-honored ghosts. Do not embrace ghosts, for their mission is to take you down. Dead souls, dead relations, dead emotions, and dead compassion. Frundi, Bia Paul, and all politicians know how and why we die. Trapped in shit. This is Willibrod Ade reading a poem by Christopher Achobang for Ambazonia Calling.
We don't do foolish, but when there are capital fools out there, we make it our duty to find them, and every week we crown one of them the Nyamfuka of the Week. We have got a fresh set of people to put into the Hall of Shame. Here is Veronique Ntumfoyn with a roundup of our kings and queens of foolish for this week.
Finishing in third place this week is the face that has been hiding behind the pen name, My Country People Them, MKPD. Unlike those who acted as collaborators of the Nazi regime, this fool, who cares not for the lives of innocent people slaughtered in Ambazonia, brags about his black leg role. In trying to sound smart, the fool describes the government as corrupt, stupid, and ineffective. Talk of the pot calling the kettle black.
The government is so incompetent, corrupt, that they cannot do it. We have to step up and do it for them. Believe it or not, I am now an unofficial advisor to the Cameroon government as far as this issue is concerned. They come to me requesting for information.
It takes a gong dog to believe that an evil regime using corrupt and morally bankrupt idiots like My Country People Them is not intelligent. Thanks to voice recognition technology, it will be easy to find this yamhead and bring him before a special tribunal in the future. But for this week, the lunatic behind the pen name, My Country People Them, is this week's third place finisher for the crown of shame, the Nyamfuka of the Week.
Nyamfuka them all.
In the position of runners-up this week is a China-based Ambazonian who identifies simply as Bobby. This is a committed Ambazonian who has had better days and has contributed some inspiring ideas to the struggle in the past. This week, though, Bobby managed to descend to a new low in the so-called Northwest-Southwest divide and rule scheme by proclaiming from the rooftops of WhatsApp that Ambazonians don't want a democratically elected leader. insulting citizens of the Southern Zone that somehow can only become leaders of Ambazonia if they were to face a no challenge from the Northern Zone.
About 90% of us Southern Cameroon would agree that that the first president of Southern Cameroon's Ambazonia should come from the Southern Zone.
By suggesting that it would indeed be okay, Comrade Bobby in China is this week's second place finisher for the crown of shame, the Nyamfuka of the week.
Nyamfuka them all.
Lifting the trophy for foolishness this week is a member of the IG group who seems to believe that every alliance is worth accepting by Ambazonia. This week, video of a meeting between IG cabinet member Seseko Dr. Peter Ako and the leader of the Biafra Secessionist Project, Namdi, surfaced on social media. In it, the IG cabinet member brags about linking Ambazonia to Biafra, and the leader of Biafra manages to claim that Ambazonians were inspired by Biafra. Seseko Dr. Peter Ako reduces Ambazonians' quest to a fight against marginalization.
We have a common destiny, we have a common ancestry, and unfortunately, we have a common problem. The problem of being marginalized because we constitute a minority.
For acting like the kind of person who could conclude a deal on behalf of Ambazonia with even an organization classified as a terrorist organization. Seseko Dr. Peter Ako is this week's winner of the crown of shame, the Nyamfuka of the week.
Nyamfuka them all.
This is Veronique Vetimfe for Ambazonia Calling.
It started like a joke and I smiled. From Meme to Momo, we said no violence. Now I know not how to smile, 'cause my loved ones are gone. There is no place to call home. Our homes have been burnt. I am homeless in my homeland. There is no place to call my home. Homeless, homeless, homeless in my homeland. When are we going to have a dialogue? We have buried more than enough. Nothing heals the past like time. When are we going to have a dialogue? We've been marginalized enough. You may fool some people sometime. You cannot fool them all the time. Homeless, homeless. I am homeless in my home.
There is such a thing as a silly season, and it is upon us right now. It happens when in the middle of an independence quest, you have people and voices out there calling for a referendum on independence. This is a distraction. We are delighted here at Ambazonia Calling to see that increasingly out there on social media, there are voices asking Ambazonians not to let themselves be scammed.
You cannot get an independence restored and then we are still talking about referendum. It means if all of us who are outside there are given 2 minutes to meet with Guterres, we will misinform Guterres and will frustrate this struggle. Ambazonia is no longer at the level of a referendum. We are at the level of the restoration of our independence. Restoration.
So restoration train is our freedom train.
We are at the level of restoration of our independence. This can come through separation, that is negotiating terms of separation. It doesn't need a referendum. If United Nations gets up today to grant a referendum to us, it means they have duped us. It means we were never a people. We have been a country.
So restoration train is our freedom train.
Number one fact, we were classified as a Class B mandate under the League of Nations. And go to your internet as you are listening to this tape now. Go and just Google there the meaning of Class B mandate. You will see that the definition read thus. It says countries that were found to be economically, socially, politically viable and mature for independence. When you check that, that is it. With the advent of the United Nations Organization, mandated territories became trust territories. And if you still go and check there, Class B, trust territories, the definition is countries that were found to be economically, socially, and politically viable to sustain a self-government. And among these countries, we had 6 countries of the world at the time. We had Syria, we had Lebanon, we had Palestine, we had British Southern Cameroon. So the best question to ask Guterres is not to even show Guterres how Pobia is killing us. The question to ask both Britain, France, and United Nations is, what happened to us? What happened to us? You people classified us in 1922 to be ripe for independence with Syria. What happened that Syria had complete independence? We are still under a people. Simple question.
So restoration train is our freedom train.
Simple question. What happened that countries that were not classified as Class B, trust or mandated territories became independent, and then those that were actually classified, it was not our economic scholars who came and did the assessment. It was the United Nations and the League of Nations who did the assessment, and the natural resources that they saw at the time have always been there. I'm talking to our leaders, those who call themselves Ambazonian leaders out there. Take time up. It's not all about the money contributing for AKs. It's about knowing what is right. It means some of you have listened to you people when you argue this case, you fumble. It's just that the world is just already sympathetic for us. You fumble a lot. Ambazonia is at the point of restoration of independence. Please.
So restoration train is our freedom train.
When it comes to history and politics, they should let the people who have the core talk. Everybody cannot be talking at the same time. I can imagine how many those institutions out there that would have helped us have been misinformed, because everybody is all about fame. If United Nations gets up tomorrow morning and announce that they are coming for a referendum, we are losers. It is not now that we want to get independence. We have had independence, but our independence is simply being undermined.
So get on now on the train. Everybody get on now on the train. Mothers, fathers, get on now on the train. Children, get on now on the train. Sister, brothers, get on now on the train. Husbands, wives too, get on now on the train. Oh, Abba, Father, bless us. Oh, Jesus Christus, guide us. Oh, Holy Spirit, lead us on the restoration journey of our liberty. So, restoration train is our freedom train.
What has happened to us in the last 56 years and counting is but a taste of what is yet to come if we give up now.
We cannot give up now.
The French in Africa are worse than Nazis in Europe in the 1940s. They are racist, poor racist, who depend on African wealth to be a power in the world. And as a member of the Western Alliance, No one is challenging their continuous colonial crimes in Africa in the 21st century.
We must challenge them in Ambazonia. Give me liberty or give me death. This is what Indian leaders told the British.
There is no longer any room for hope. If we wish to be free, if we mean to preserve inviolate those inestimable privileges for which we have been so long contending, if we mean not basely to abandon the noble struggle in which we have been so long engaged, and which we have pledged ourselves never to abandon until the glorious object of our contest shall be obtained, we must fight. I repeat it, sir, we must fight. An appeal to arms and to the God of hosts is all that is left us. They tell us, sir, that we are weak, unable to cope with so formidable an adversary. But when shall we be stronger? Will it be the next week or the next year? Will it be when we are totally disarmed? Shall we gather strength by irresolution and inaction? Shall we acquire the means of effectual resistance by lying supinely on our backs and hugging the delusive phantom of hope until our enemies shall have bound us hand and foot? Sir, we are not weak if we make a proper use of those means by which the God of nature hath placed in our power. The millions of people, armed in the holy cause of liberty, and in such a country as that which we possess, are invincible by any force which our enemy can send against us. Besides, sir, we shall not fight our battles alone. There is no retreat but in submission and slavery. Our chains are forged. The war is inevitable, and let it come. I repeat it, sir, let it come. It is in vain, sir, to extenuate the matter. Gentlemen may cry, peace, peace, but there is no peace. The war is actually begun. The next gale that sweeps from the north will bring to our ears the clash of resounding arms. Our brethren are already in the field. Why stand we here idle? What is it that gentlemen wish? What would they have? Is life so dear, or peace so sweet, as to be purchased at the price of chains and slavery? Forbid it, Almighty God. I know not what course others may take, but as for me, give me liberty, or give me death.
This is Ambazonia. One nation, one soul, one people. Sacrificing, bleeding, and yes, dying if need be, until we kick the colonialists out and enthrone a government of the people in BOYO. During his visit to the Cameroons in 1985, Pope St. John Paul II spoke at Unity Palace on the 15th of August 1985, and the Holy Father had the following to say to Mr. Biya, and I quote, "Injustices committed by certain regimes concerning human rights or the legitimate demands of a section of the population, which is refused participation or common responsibilities, begets a revolt of regrettable violence, but which justice could have foreheld." End quote.
What do you want them from us? Must I suffer? Come out for our country. Come out. I say this one a danger because some people no go ever chop this jangi. Come out. Who be you? Who be you? Poverty. Who be you? Come out. Come for life. Who be you? Who be you? Come out. Who be you? Who be you? Corruption. Who be you? Come out. Who be you? Who be you? Come out. Father, heal the land from the likes of Gomorrah. Come out. Father, heal the land from the likes of Lucifer. Come out.
Addressing the General Assembly of the United Nations in New York on the occasion of the 50th anniversary of this world organization in October 1985, Pope St. John Paul II had the following to say, and I quote, "A presupposition of a nation's rights is certainly its right to exist. Therefore, no one, neither a state, nor another nation, nor an international organization, is ever justified in asserting that an individual nation is not worthy of existence. End quote.
This is Ambazonia Calling.
Because you have your army of occupation out in West Cameroon, you believe that when the people will rise, even if you took the whole of the French army and added to yours, you will never bring them down.
And I call on all Cameroon soldiers to lay down their arms within Ambazonia and to turn their arms against the very system that has made them slaves in the land of their birth.
For more stories from around the world, go to the World Wide Web at themissionstribune.com, compassfreepress.com, and africafreedomnetwork.com.
Here is our letter to Joshua.
Dear Joshua, news out there is that your regime has deployed 2,600 freshly trained B officers and an additional 1,200 pro-regime militia to Ambazozo's northern and southern zones. The goal? Stamp out the resistance to recolonization. Useless man. That is being stupid. What do you not understand yet? Military victory is not possible against the Watana generation. The number of innocent citizens slaughtered continues to rise as your dogs of war kill Ambazozos for crimes as ill-defined as having a ringtone that is connected to anything Ambazonian. Amba citizens have seen their motorbikes and taxis seized for insisting to respect Country Sunday on Mondays. If you were the one, what would you do? If you were so certain it is easy to disregard those orders, why do you have your ministers visiting Ambazozo, coming in exclusively under military escort? Why do they have to hitch a ride in an armored personnel carrier, buckle up like pigs being taken in Kenjas to the swine market and Kombu? How can anyone blame you for the crazy incompetence of your regime when you admit to being just a people president of a certain French leader? That's modesty. So, did the French clear with you for the arrest of the fellows who worked for them but swindled on your behalf at Sonara? What happened to Dan Esther of SNI? I know you fired her, but was Njomba Palava mixing into this hot air that she's just blowing around the place? I heard you called the boy president to order the other day. Good for you. Did they think you were already a dead man walking? The French call it mort vivant, which words translates literally into the living dead. You have taken one sound action lately. You delegated someone to mediate on your behalf. Good move. You don't want to be defeated in Ambazozo before you start seeking an option that's peaceful. It may no longer be on the table. Do you have an idea how empty your file will be for negotiations? You don't have a single legal document to prove that you had the authorization of the sovereign people of Amba Republic to absorb them into your newly independent nation of Angola. The pressure is wild, I know. Citizens of La Republique staged this very successful protest on the U.S. Capitol, calling for your head and for the enthronement of Camto as head of the Republic of Bread and Sardine. Hanging on to the presidency for nearly 40 years and doing exactly nothing to advance things for the country, its people, and your allies, your own people, the Bulu, Ewondo, the Eton, or the more distant peoples of the grass fields, the Bamis and then the Wajos and the Mongobasas. If you had a deal with someone in Congress, I'm sure you have heard already that everything has unraveled. Any money spent is money lost. The Ambazozos found a way of torpedoing everything that was envisaged. The resolution, that 358, is dead on arrival, man. You call it money. Ambazozo stopped it in its tracks, and they did it with numbers higher than those calling to advocate the I word for impeachment of President Donald Trump. Ego had you. Ambazozos are not making a secret anymore. For nearly 100% of them, the credo is no retreat, no surrender. From our studios here in Washington, D.C., our producer is Jeff McCoy. Our music today is from Ken Wanaku, the monk from Balikumato, William Ford, an ambassador of blessed memory, Eric Matisse on the web at soundimage.org, and Prince Ajwa Alemanji of Ajam Sonic Kitron, USA. Ambazonia Calling is a joint production of Africa Freedom Network, the Missions Tribune, and Compass Free Press. You can find us on the web at www.themissionstribune.com, www.compassfreepress.com, and www.africafreedomnetwork.com. Next Sunday is another day. Until then, keep the spirit, keep the faith, keep up the fight for justice and independence for Ambazonia. Stay Amba strong.